So just hours after Kamala Harris announced Governor Tim Walz as her running mate, the pair held their first joint rally before a packed crowd at Temple University in Philadelphia last night. Thousands of supporters stood in the rain, wrapped around blocks, hoping to get into the 10,000-seat venue. According to the Harris campaign, there were 14,000 attendees in the arena and overflow area. On Truth Social, the Harris campaign mocked Donald Trump with a photo comparing last night's crowd with a rally Trump held at the same venue in June. There you go. Difference in crowd size, which I guess is important to Donald Trump. In her remarks last night, Vice President Harris praised Walz and explained why she chose him to join the ticket. Governor Walz then spoke about his own experience and background, and they both explained what they see is at stake this November.
To those who know him best, Tim is more than a governor. To his wife, Gwen, he is a husband. To his kids, Hope and Gus, he is a dad. To his fellow veterans, he is Sergeant Major Walz. To the people of southern Minnesota, for 12 years, he was congressman. To his former high school students, he was Mr. Walz. And to his former high school football players, he was Coach. And in 91 days, the nation will know Coach Walz by another name, Vice President of the United States.
Donald Trump sees the world a little differently than us. First of all, he doesn't know the first thing about service. He doesn't have time for it because he's too busy serving himself. Again and again and again, Trump weakens our economy to strengthen his own hand. He mocks our laws. He sows chaos and division. And that's to say nothing of his record as president. He froze in the face of the COVID crisis. He drove our economy into the ground. And make no mistake, violent crime was up under Donald Trump. That's not even counting the crimes he committed.
And so now we got some work to do. We need to move to the general election and win that. And to all the friends, listen, we also need to level set. We are the underdogs in this race. But we have the momentum, and I know exactly what we are up against. When we look at folks, we see in our fellow Americans neighbors, not enemies. Not enemies. And so my promise to you is this. Our campaign will reach out to everyone, from red states to blue states, from the heartland to the coast, in rural, urban, suburban, and tribal communities. We are running a campaign on behalf of all Americans. And when and elected, we will govern on behalf of all Americans.
So according to the campaign, as of 6:30 last night, more than $20 million has been raised in the hours after announcing Governor Walz as Harris's running mate. It was quite an event.
So what do you think?
I think it was a really great, strong start. There was a real contrast from the get-go. You could really see joy and exuberance versus grievance and retribution, which would be the Trump campaign. Love versus hate, if I can. A lot of people on Twitter, Ted Lasso was trending as it's the Ted Lasso campaign. And it's interesting because I think we both have expressed that Josh Shapiro is supremely talented and was an incredible choice as well. And at the same time, I can see the strategy because he will stay in Pennsylvania for the next 3 months and he will campaign his heart out across that state. And Tim Walz, I think, proved himself to be pretty talented as well on the main stage and had an authentic touch that really could break through. What did you think?
A very formidable politician. There are a lot of people who just shrink on the big stage. He did not.
He did not.
He remained a big presence there. They both did. I've got to say, Kamala Harris is just in these events, one event after another, that she has exceeded just about everybody's expectations, at least in American politics and in the media. She did it again last night. The way she carries herself, the confidence that she shows. There's just a lot of people that did not, if you look what they were saying about Kamala Harris the day before Joe Biden dropped out, most Democrats were fretting that she couldn't carry it. She couldn't handle it on the big stage. I'll tell you what, she has transformed herself in a way that even Republicans that will be voting for Donald Trump have admitted she has. And he did very well. It was again very folksy address. Mike Barnicle,
some real digs in there.
Yeah, real folksy address. It has a great biography, one that I've long wondered why Democrats didn't get out front more often. A guy that was born on a farm in Nebraska, guy that was raised in a town of 400. We're talking about understanding community. Served in the military just like his dad. Got his college degree with the GI Bill. All this very, very positive. And you actually have a contrast in two campaigns here. It does remind me, in 1980, Reagan, in large part, people looked past Reagan's ideology when he was seen as being more conservative than where America was at that time. Ronald Reagan was a dramatic break from the FDR coalition that had ruled America since 1933. But it was optimism, sunniness, hope. Ronald Reagan always talking about how he truly believed America's greatest days were ahead of them. And there was on the other side Jimmy Carter and Milley. So ideology didn't count for that much that year. I think it's the same thing here. Tim Walz, the governor, not the House member, but the governor, has some issues that I think Republicans are going to try to exploit. And we'll get to those in a little bit. But first, I was struck, Mike, that you could turn down the volume and watch that rally last night. And you could turn down the volume on any Trump rally. And it would just be obvious. You have on one side hope, optimism, and joy. You do. It's evident. Just the visuals evident. Hope, optimism, joy. And on the other side, with the volume turned down, you see anger, chaos, and of course the promise of retribution. In campaigns like this, it's always a surprise to people like me that sometimes ideology just doesn't matter. I mean, Americans in 2008 did not care that Barack Obama was the second or the third most liberal senator in the United States Senate. They cared about hope and change, and it carried him across the finish line in dramatic fashion.
You know, Joe, that's a very interesting observation that you just pointed out, the Reagan campaign of 1980. Watching the coach, and I'm going to call him the coach from now until Election Day, watching the coach yesterday and watching the vice president yesterday, it was mesmerizing in the sense that it's been a while since I've seen a rally like that, either on TV or in person. And watching it, you could just sense the power in the hall. And it was the power of joy, the power of laughter, the power of hope for the future, but especially the power of those who were in the hall and those who were thinking or considering voting for this ticket, the vice president and the coach, for those considering voting for the ticket, giving them the power to think that they're participating in something that will put a smile on your face. It's been a long time since any aspect of American politics has put a smile on anyone's face. And these two people yesterday managed to put a smile on the nation's face.